red wash just after me. Pregnant ladies and little kids better get the hell out of the way, because I am running. I'm like Forrest Gump, dude. I am running. So, the Titanic was the biggest ship on the ocean, but that didn't mean it was unsinkable. Okay. All right. I want you each to use ombudsman in a sentence next week. I got one for you. My name is Kevin, the official ombudsman of the Just Press Play podcast. You like apples?
Alrighty, here we are back again. Welcome into another edition of the Just Press Play pod. We got the normal crew around. What's up, Pops and L?
What up?
Not too much. What's up?
You know, just another day. It's another day where is there tampering going on in the NBA? And the question is yes.
The question is how much?
Yeah. I don't think the question is there tampering? That we talked a little bit about it, the Anthony Davis stuff last week or whatever we did in the trade deadline pass, and Anthony Davis is now still on the Pelicans, and now Magic Johnson is saying that the Pelicans were negotiating in poor faith, which kind of seems like a dumb thing for Magic to come out publicly and say, because he still wants to trade for Anthony Davis.
He still wants to trade in the future.
Yeah, I would,
and he's got to deal with the Pelicans.
Yeah, I'd be buttering them up and I'd almost like talk about how bad they were just to try to make them feel good about themselves, because clearly the Pelicans were just it did seem like they were just screwing with the Lakers. And I don't know if you kept up with some of this, LJ.
No. But
there was like the Lakers would do a trade offer and the Pelicans never gave a counter.
Yeah.
But the information kept getting leaked at who the Lakers were offering. Yeah. So by trade deadline came up, basically everybody in the Lakers locker room was on the trading block except for LeBron. So you got to think that probably does, bother the locker room just a little bit.
Probably not good for morale, probably.
That's what I was kind of thinking is like, I'm totally okay with Magic saying something, because I know that like fans were chanting like LeBron's going to trade you as people were shooting free throws the last couple of weeks. So I could understand why you'd be upset enough to try to force somebody's hand to say, yeah, we were kind of shitty or whatever. But
so, hey, I hadn't heard that for real. They were chanting LeBron's going to trade you.
Brandon Ingram was at the free throw line Wednesday, the night before the trade deadline, and the Indiana Pacers fans were chanting LeBron's going to trade you. So first off, shout out to the Pacers fan. That's a really good chant.
That's good. Chant. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Do you know, did he make those shots? Because I sure would have been in my head at that point.
I think he went 1 for 2, but then they ended up the Lakers ended up getting beat by almost 40, if not 40 points in that game, and the Pacers are without their best player Victor Oladipo. So clearly, I mean, it's just like any job. If we're sitting here, if you're at your job, Elle, and everyone there is expendable and they're looking to replace all of you, that would affect my day-to-day work, I think, just a little bit.
That's the reason that we don't have Tony or Hannah on right now. If we get both of them on at the same time, we might be out of a job. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it's true.
But so now the Anthony Davis saga goes on. And now the funny thing is, to me, and we won't spend too much time because we're going to have a little more deep, in-depth NBA pod maybe next week. But now the Pelicans were thinking, and we talked about this, they would rest Anthony Davis because a hurt Anthony Davis does nothing for them. His trade value plummets.
Yeah.
So they're not now. They don't want to make the playoffs. They would probably want to tank and have a good pick. So it does behoove them to maybe rest him. But now all of a sudden the NBA, because if you remember the conversation a year and 2 years ago, and really for the past 3 years, is NBA players resting, and the NBA is trying to make it to where it doesn't happen as much. So the NBA now threatened the Pelicans that if you rest Anthony Davis when he's healthy, then that can warrant either it's a $50,000 fine or $100,000 fine. But I don't know if that kind of seems like the NBA's just bullying the Pelicans, because I don't know if they just weren't watching, but at one point the Rockets just sent Carmelo Anthony home, but didn't quite trade him for like 2 months. And then LeBron literally 2 weeks ago took a game off it was the Saturday night primetime game against the Warriors, and he did not play because of load management was the reason why he didn't
play.
I don't know.
Management.
I think I'm going to call in my boss tomorrow and be like, I need the day off for load management. It's just
that sounds like something like a VP of Petroleum Ops takes care of, not a doctor, right?
It's like, Friday, I'm not going to be able to come in on Friday because it's load management this week. It's just been tough. So
good Lord.
Yeah.
But it's almost embarrassing to me that the NBA is going to go to the Pelicans, who really have been screwed by their 25-year-old star player who's under contract for a year and a half, is trying to force his way out before his contract's up. And now the NBA is like, well, we don't really care if LeBron takes the night off because he's LeBron and we don't want to ruffle their feathers, but you're the Pelicans, so we can bully you. I feel like that was kind of screwed around for the NBA to do.
You got to have two eyebrows to sit out a game.
Low.
And then over in the NFL, I don't know who could have guessed this, but the first team to cause a little controversy over the offseason is the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Antonio Brown is now demanding a trade. Who would have thought that'd be the first storyline going into the offseason?
What's not shocking is that Cleveland was shortly behind.
Yeah. No, actually, I guess Cleveland, I guess, beat them to it with signing Kareem
not to
Hunt
be outdone.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, just didn't Kareem Hunt's incident happen in Cleveland? Like, shouldn't they?
So
I don't know.
Do you want to hear a little conspiracy? Kevin might come real quick. Let me.
Always.
Alrighty, and now conspiracy Kevin just walked into the room, and if you
he looks
remember,
a lot like normal Kevin.
Yeah, he does look a lot like him.
If you remember, yes, OJ, that happened at a Cleveland hotel, and some people may have I don't know where that information came from. All of a sudden, it happened a while back ago, but all of a sudden TMZ got a hold of this clip. What if? I mean, did the Cleveland Browns have connections in Cleveland? Did they find a way to get a hold of this clip, leak it out to TMZ? Then he gets Kareem Hunt cut, and then who's right there quick to pick him up and sign him to a contract? The Cleveland Browns. I'm just saying. And Jack Dorsey was the guy that drafted him back in the day.
I was going to say, Dorsey has a connection with him.
Dorsey has made it clear that he's not really worried about the morality of his players. He just wants you to be talented. Can you score touchdowns for me is all he's worried about. And,
interesting.
That's questionable.
You think so?
I
I kind of got the idea Dorsey was just saying, and I don't know if I completely disagree. The guy did something despicable, but he deserved a second chance. I mean, come out and apologize and maybe be a force for good. I don't think he needs to
Dorsey,
play.
I'm just saying Dorsey showed back in the day when he was at Kansas City when they drafted Tyreek Hill. And Tyreek Hill definitely had some issues coming out of school.
No doubt.
And a lot of teams didn't want to touch him.
But
Dorsey, I just think
Tyreek Hill has been a force for good as far as I'm aware, and he's changed his ways. And
I guess as far as I know, he's been a model citizen. I've not heard anything negative.
And I think he's done a lot of charity work for battered women and stuff like that. So I mean, I might be wrong. We might have a listener out there who will fact check me and tell me how despicable he is, and I'm totally willing to hear that out. But I don't. I think he's been pretty great.
I just think these people. Yeah, the NFL's like people like when Dorsey does this. Yeah, you deserve a second chance. He wouldn't deserve a second chance if he didn't think he would be the best running back on his team.
Right. Well, it's like
and
Ray
then
Rice
there was
didn't deserve a second chance, and we're not sure completely how much of that is a skill level issue or how bad what he did is. I'm not to say what he did was not awful, but
now Ray Rice's skill level was still pretty high at the time. I think that teams tried him.
I think he was a 31-year-old running back who just got cut.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying his value was not to the same level Kareem Hunt's is. Or, I mean, you look at Mike Vick got that big old second chance after, Lord knows how many
Mike Vick did get a second chance after he also went to prison for like multiple years and lost $100 million.
Which is the way the justice system's supposed to work, right?
Right. I agree with that. It was funny. There's like a comment coming around. Kareem Hunt said something about he just wants to pay his dues and accept his time and all this stuff. And that was a real long time. It took him a whole 2 months to get another contract and get back on an NFL team. But, I don't know. And maybe he turns his life around. Who knows? But
what do you think Nick Chubb sitting there thinking though? I mean, didn't he? I mean, he had a decent year, right?
Yeah.
I would think if I'm Nick Chubb, I'm going, what the hell is going on here? But
I think that's because the thing that you got to think about, especially if you're Nick Chubb, is they probably got Kareem Hunt for cheap. I don't know if the details are out there, but they probably got him for real cheap. And then so now that's just another back to take away some of those carries so you can lengthen your career and maybe make it into the playoffs and not be the only running back on the team. I think Duke Johnson's the person that's probably looking at this saying, well, what the hell?
Yeah.
But Nick Chubb's probably all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Duke Johnson's going to be a wide receiver next year.
Yeah, Kareem Hunt is a better Duke Johnson. That's just the truth of it. So.
the other thing that happened recently, I don't know how much you guys watched. Did y'all guys catch any of the Grammys that happened over the past weekend?
A little bit.
Nope, didn't watch.
Well, I was going to ask about maybe I want to talk a little on the Grammys, but kind of also just what is your thoughts, LJ, on award shows? Like, do you really try to tune into award shows? Do they not matter that much to you?
No, I hate them. I don't see a lot of value in them. Like, getting a nomination is the award. Getting the award is just a roll of dice. Like, I don't feel like usually the things that win things are any better than the things they're nominated against. The Oscars, I mean, if you look at the best movies and look at the competition, I think half the time that's not true. The Grammys are maybe even worse as far as that's concerned. You know, we get all this great work nominated, and like, you know, last year I was looking at some of the stuff about like why people didn't show up to the Grammys, which I know you wanted to maybe mention. And you know, the idea that like 24 Karat Magic was a better album than anything else it was up against is kind of like, I love Bruno Mars, but like I you know, art's
like,
subjective,
really?
so it's kind of hard to say that 24 Karat Magic was the best out. Like that's the one that I would think would be like, well, it was great. It was well produced. But you know what I mean? So I don't really care much for award shows.
Well, and Drake kind of, interestingly, that was part of his point when he won, I think his, one of his songs got Rap Song of the Year or whatever.
Mm.
And, when he went up to accept his award, he kind of mentioned, he was like, you know, our business isn't like the NBA where it's the best team at the end holding their trophy is the team that won a series. Like they've proven themselves. Ours is an opinionated business where you get this award because someone thought I was better than you. And I agree with you, LJ. I kind of think, I mean, Grammys are important. And I think for anybody who probably won a Grammy, I know my girl Casey Musgraves kind of did pretty well at the Grammys. I'm sure that was a huge night for her, and shout out to all the people that won. But at the same time, art is an opinionated thing. It's not like the Warriors can say, we are the best team, but because they beat everyone in a 7-game series, but a Grammy just means somebody thought your album was better. But that all being said, I was watching the Grammys, and what do you think, Pops? What's some of your thoughts on?
Well, I think you're right. Art is an opinionated thing, but I think that's kind of the charm of it. Is I can think something's a beautiful piece of art, and you know, you may not. And the art is in the eye of the beholder. You know, I think we talked a little bit about it, Kev. I like them in the sense that they're like football games where you're not just tied to the TV. You can't miss a word. You know, you can have a conversation and watch the Grammys. You can comment.
Well, it's not like when you throw on an episode of Game of Thrones or Sopranos where you have 58 minutes where y'all are quiet watching.
But also, I was impressed with, and I didn't watch it all because we quit and watched True Detective, but that sounded more interesting. But some of the sets, you know, the different sets they had where the people played were incredible. And Kevin, you brought her name up. I didn't know that the one that did the Pussy Pants or
Janelle
whatever.
Monáe.
Yeah, I don't know.
Janelle Monáe is my girl. She's good.
Yeah, I didn't know her really before, but she's on my map now.
She's on my list.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
She was interesting. I mean, it was kind of a Princey sound. You know, it had a Prince sound.
Very
to
Prince.
it. Very cool little sound. I liked her. I like the sets. I mean, I like to see who won. Casey Musgraves, it made me. So today I get to work and on Spotify, I'm going to pull up and listen to the latest Casey Musgraves album. And I got so busy, I didn't get to listen to any of it. But so she's on my radar now to listen to. And especially because she may be my future daughter-in-law, according to Kevin. So.
Well, I think she's either got a husband or boyfriend. But if the chance ever opens up,
if that goes south, you're in line. Huh? Okay. So I get some enjoyment out of them, you know, but yeah, it's not nuts, but I get some enjoyment out of them.
On that, I do like to look up the performances like over the next like couple of weeks. Usually I'll try to catch all of those because those are usually really fun and really worth checking because it's really cool collaborations and stuff. But the actual awards are totally irrelevant to me.
Well, that's kind of what's cool about it to me, more so than the awards are neat. And I will like see someone win something and I might go check out more of them. But it's more like Alicia Keys hosting it. I think she did a fantastic job. She was cool.
Sure she did. Yeah.
She once again showed just how freaking talented she was. There was at one point where she was like sitting between two pianos and playing two separate pianos at the same time while singing. It was freaking cool.
I don't think that'd be any different than playing one piano with two hands, though, is it? Like that seems pretty.
I don't know. Don't you kind of look? I don't know. It just seemed cool. It looked awesome. And then,
fair enough.
And she was funny. And then there was, they had a little moment where her and Jennifer Lopez and Michelle Obama, and there was another girl that came out with them, and I'm blanking, but they had like a little it was a thing about women, and it was just a cool thing. And then the performances were really good. They did did you see, Dad, the Dolly Parton tribute?
Yeah, I did. I did see that
with Casey Musgraves and Katy Perry were out there, and that was really cool little performance. And then Miley Cyrus came out. I think that's her goddaughter or something. There's somehow some family thing with them. Yeah, okay. And she came out and sang Jolene with her. That was cool.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, have you ever
Dolly Parton? I don't know how old Dolly Parton is, but she still could sing.
Dolly Parton's in her 70s for sure, and
yeah, she'll never lose it. She'll keep singing until she's gone.
She's gonna be like Betty White. Just keep on going.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you heard, and I've heard about it, but I heard more. She was winning like the Music Cares Person of the Year award because of that Dolly Parton book program. Have y'all heard about that? Just to shed some light on.
Mm-mm.
She does this cool ass thing where she sends like tons of books to young children throughout the country. It's some crazy number. Let me try to look it up real quick. But it's like this thing that she puts on, and she doesn't make any money off of it, and just gives a bunch of books to elementary schools. The Imagination Library, and you can look her up at imaginationlibrary.com and donate to it. But I want to know how many books it was. At one point I read like she had given over 100,000 books or 1 million books, and it just is to kids reading and stuff. And
wow,
that's something that's kind of dying is reading. Yeah. We don't read enough as it is. So it's cool to see someone who's a music legend like that and putting some of her platform to a cool, good note.
She truly is a music legend.
That was a good lady. For sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
Absolute legend.
Love her.
I'm sorry I didn't listen to her for so many years.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a huge mistake.
But kind of to Dad's point, kind of, and the Oscars is similar. That's another award show. Those are the two I kind of, if I'm going to pay attention to, it's probably the Grammys and Oscars. I don't pay attention to all of them. But they will at times, even if you don't agree with who won. Like, I didn't watch Moonlight until that won Best Picture. And then I was like, oh, let me check it. Same with La La Land. I like to look at the nominees, and I know, shout out to Tammy knows, and she does this. So I feel like once a year I go back to the house and Liff and Tammy pick out a movie that's nominated that none of us we haven't seen yet.
Oh yeah, I love the nominations. I just don't care about the winners. Is all.
You just don't value the winner as much necessarily.
Yeah, the nomination list, like that's one of my favorite things is go to best foreign films for the Oscars. It doesn't matter who wins, but like it's a list of 5 movies you would have never heard of otherwise that are all fantastic. So
yeah,
it's a great list.
Well, I want to add, speaking of you don't care who wins, I have to say, LJ, we watched The Shape of Water about 2 weeks ago.
I just watched it too, by the way.
Didn't care much for it at all. What did I miss? Because I know you said he is a really good director, or I guess he's a director.
Guillermo del Toro's a genius, and he's got a new set of horror shows coming out or something like that I'm really excited about. But yeah, I was also very underwhelmed by it. I basically saw the twist at the end. Spoiler alert! I guess there's a twist. But I saw that like right at the beginning, like in the first 30 minutes of the movie, I knew exactly how it was going to end. And so I was like, so how is he, the genius, going to like throw me off my, kilter? And it was just like, oh, he didn't. Okay, cool. That's fine.
It was okay.
Yeah. I wasn't as in love with it, but it was still beautiful. And it was like, I mean, the sound design was amazing, but that doesn't make a good movie. That makes a good CD. So,
well, isn't that part of what won it was, I felt like the artsy group. I mean, it was just cinematically how it was very well done. I haven't seen it, and I don't really have a ton of desire to, but just like all of it together, the music, the score, and then the cinematic
and the visual effects. And there's this one scene that like, in the context, it's strange, but if you just look at it as like visual imagery where they flood a room. I don't want to say much more than that, but like just visually, it's just striking, and the music is great. Like it's just a really cool scene. But then in the context of the story, it's like,
but they flooded a room. You're like, what? They flooded a room? Oh, you can't do that. It's whatever.
But I think that's the kind of movie. It's not a Warhol painting of a can. It's like a Pollock painting. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's a great example, but that's kind of how I felt about it. So
while we're talking about movies, one that I know Pops just watched because we just watched it this past weekend, but Bohemian Rhapsody was pretty dang good. Yeah, and I didn't realize Queen was, I mean, when they started playing all the different songs that Queen's done, I was like, man, I just didn't realize how many hits but not just hits, but like songs that everyone knows.
Everyone knows. Yes.
Yeah.
I just didn't realize that by Queen. I mean, I know Queen's a big name, but just they did, I think, 8 different songs at one point where I'm just like, if you play that in any room, everybody's singing along to it and knows it. Right. That Queen was a big deal.
That struck me too, Kevin. How many people would know by heart? You're right. That's good pull.
Oh man, I've loved Queen. For a long time. Yeah, they're fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was the type of songs that if someone pulled them up on karaoke, all of a sudden the whole room is singing along to it. And I just didn't realize Queen was that big, and they were. Man. The movie was really well done. It was cool. It's definitely worth the watch for anyone out there that hasn't seen it yet.
I'll check it out.
Want to throw that out there.
Agreed.
So, taking a complete turn here, LJ, you mentioned something to us kind of pre-show while we were just putting some notes together, and I honestly have absolutely no idea what it means, but you piqued my interest. What the hell is a canary clause?
Okay. There's this thing. Let's take a step back. Okay. So if you're a major company, say an Apple or a Reddit or a Facebook that has like access to a bunch of information for people, right? The FBI can say, hey, will you give us information about, let's say, Kevin Luthringer, right? And then Facebook can say, no, I'm not going to do that. And they say, well, we've got a warrant, so you have to. So then what they might want to do is, send Kevin a message saying, hey, FYI, the FBI is looking into you for something. But because of, I think it's the Patriot Act or something like that, you're actually a lot of times not allowed to tell people that they're under investigation, that you gave up information on them and stuff like that. So something that a company like Apple does where your privacy is very important, right? Like what you have on your iPhone is a pretty big deal. What they'll do is they'll have like in their end of year tech reports, they'll have this little thing at the bottom that says we have not served any warrants for full searches on people or anything like that. And then so if you keep watching this month to month to month, and then one day this little warning disappears, then they call that a warrant canary or a canary clause. They let you know that, hey, your information might not be as safe as it was. We can't tell you who it is or, whatever. But, Apple has had this, and then they had it for like 2 years, and then it disappeared one day. And so that meant, the FBI has access to some people's stuff at least, which is really neat.
That's interesting because that's like something we actually, it's funny this morning we talked about it at work. Someone was talking about how iPhones have the new feature. It's not that new anymore, but they have the Hey Siri feature where basically whenever when you say that to it, if it recognizes your voice, then it pops up. So that means to some extent, it's listening to you. It's listening for that. Yeah. So who knows what else it's recording, and now to know, I guess justice is good, but it is kind of freaky that the FBI and government, if they tell Apple's got a lot of stuff on me right now between my computer and phone. They know if you ask Apple about Kevin, they got the down low on me.
Well, and the other thing is that Apple can't say, by the way, we served a warrant for Kevin. Like they have to keep it a secret no matter what happens with this investigation. But so at least that way you'll know that like if you're worried about the government getting a hold of your stuff for whatever reason, then, that's at least a warning to say, hey, move your stuff to somewhere else or they've already got it. But, it's a totally interesting concept of how to tattle on the government without breaking the rules.
Right. Because essentially they're telling you something by omission is what they're doing. Right.
Yeah. Well, and do you know where the name comes from? Have you guys ever heard
of a canary in a coal mine?
Canary mines.
You would just carry it around with you. And
do you know what this is, Kevin?
Not a clue. Y'all are speaking a foreign language to me.
So this is actually kind of like the anti-bird box, right? So the way it works is you would tend to have canaries down in the coal mine with you. And so the dangers of the coal mines is like the gases that are kind of like in these mines might sneak up on you and kill you, carbon monoxide poisoning or something like that, without you ever even noticing the effects until it's too late. And so what these canaries are for is their bodies are so much more sensitive to this kind of stuff that once the canary stops chirping, then you better get the hell out of this cave right now because something bad's going on. And so it's the idea of like hearing the chirp every month is like everything's fine. And then once you don't hear that chirp, you got to, rethink your tactics or whatever, which is why that name exists.
So I got a question. Can I ask a question? So yeah, every time I get a new update on Apple or whatever, you got to agree to all these terms. I don't know if anybody does, but I just agree. So how would a person like me realize that disclaimer is no longer there? Would somebody like a techie notice it and tell everybody, I guess? Or
fantastic question. This thing is not on those those end user license agreements or whatever. But what they are on is like their monthly financial reports or their monthly technological reports that they present to the board or whatever, which are usually, if they're a public company, they're presented to the public or whatever. And so that there are people that keep up with everybody that's got a canary clause or a warrant canary in their thing, and they will notify, they'll put up something on the website whenever one of these goes down. So you would check, I think there's a website called Canary Watch or something like that.
Okay.
.com. And so you can see who's got active canaries and who had active canaries and they've gone away and like when they went away and stuff like that. Apple did have one and they actually don't anymore. So the FBI, by the way, can serve a warrant and require them to give them information. And I think it went away right at the same time as the San Bernardino shooting. If you guys remember that iPhone that they couldn't hack into or whatever, and they were trying to have Apple
there's some of that. Well, and there was like something I remember where the FBI tried to gain access through Amazon to listen to an Alexa. Like, we want to use that. We want to use all the files you have to listen in and try to crack this case. And I don't think they were able to gain access. Because I get, it's an interesting argument between Amazon and Apple, because at one part they're like, yeah, if this person maybe shot a bunch of people, we want to catch them. But yeah, it's kind of, shout out to Aunt Corey. It's a slippery slope. And if they give one person, they give that access to one person, then now I don't know if I want to have anything Alexa, because now maybe anytime, I don't think I'm that worried. Like, what am I going to be talking about? But, I just don't want
but also
necessarily to always be listening on.
It's the idea. The fear is not that like they're going to, catch you making your bombs in the basement or something like that. The fear is that they're going to hear you say enough things that they don't like, that if they want to just, put this information out there, it could ruin your life. Or, enough circumstantial evidence has definitely swayed juries over the course of American history, even though that technically, the person was innocent or whatever crime they were accused of, but just a mountain of evidence, which every word you've ever said in your kitchen is a mountain of evidence. You could probably, take something out of context and make someone look pretty bad.
I wonder, could it be like, they're really not supposed to pull you over right on the street without some cause, right? I mean, they can't just,
right.
So it seems like if say you were in a hotel in Las Vegas and you shot windows out and shot at a crowd, then I would think, okay, you can go listen to that guy's Alexa. I mean, there's probable cause there.
Well, I think there's a difference between like when they know that this guy is the guy that did it versus they're trying to hunt for who did it or something like that. And then the other thing is like the idea of like the big thing with the San Bernardino iPhones is if, this guy encrypted his stuff with his iPhone or whatever. And so that meant that Apple could unlock the phone if they wanted to, but they didn't think that was a good precedent to set. And then the other thing is they could then send like a key to the FBI, but then the FBI could then unlock every single encrypted iPhone forever and ever. And so just because it does make sense in this one case to do it, you got to think about the precedents you're setting for investigating everybody for everything all the time.
Well, and isn't the big, like the kind of the scary thought is, so all these companies, like whether it be Apple or Google or Facebook, all these different companies have so much data on you individually. Yeah. What happens when the wrong person is ahead of that and starts selling that data?
Oh,
and
yeah.
starts
That's definitely
releasing. Because I'm just thinking like, so for someone with health, like a health insurance company would maybe want to have the access to what I talk about. And maybe that before they sell me health insurance, they want to know, all of a sudden Kevin's been mentioning, he's been having heart problems or having cancer. And now my price goes way up, or maybe they don't even offer it to me because they're worried about me. I just think that's where you get nervous and we've seen some of it with Zuckerberg and how maybe, I don't know how good of a human being he is, but you just, there's
or how much of
these
a human
companies,
being he is, but
yeah, he's a robot, but all these companies have so much data on you, and it's great. I think at one point it's great because it serves you and makes them able to serve you the best way. But at the same time, what happens if they start selling it to people and start, I don't know. There's just a lot of stuff they know about me and you.
And according to news over the past couple of months, I mean, Facebook does sell your data to Netflix. Like, it's absurd the amount of information that allegedly Netflix was given about our Facebook accounts. Like, Netflix was allowed to read our private messages that we've sent to each other, not on our walls or anything like that. Like, that's a huge problem, like just in concept, because who knows what they're doing with that data, and who knows who else has got a big enough pocketbook to buy all of my direct messages to people. Like,
and I know we've talked about it before. It's kind of neat, but it's also kind of scary. Netflix, usually when they say, like, they'll send me a little notification because I have the app on my phone too, and it'll say, have you checked out? And it's usually like something I would be totally into. And I'm like, oh, this weekend I'm going to check out the Ted Bundy documentary. And like they know exactly what gets me intrigued. And every time they catch on. So part of it's like, oh, that's cool. They alerted me. But also part of it's like, damn, they got me like hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and another thing that like, this is, something I might end up cutting because it's a huge rabbit hole, but Conspiracy Kevin might be totally interested in. The wealth of information that can just, you can start connecting dots. If you look into you remember how the DNC, the Democrat committee, got hacked by, probably Russia, but who knows who, and those emails all ended up on WikiLeaks. You guys know about that?
Yeah, I remember it.
Yeah.
So one of the things that happened in that, I don't know if you guys ever heard of Pizzagate. Does that mean anything to you guys?
Something about it, but I kind of can't remember.
Yeah.
So basically, people combed through these, probably millions of emails and looked for weird links that they could put together, and ended up trying to claim that the Democrat chairman or Hillary's campaign manager or somebody had these like code words for like a pedophilia ring that he was running, and like to the point that like thousands of people completely believed that this was actually happening. Even to the point that this one guy went to the pizza place that they allegedly have this pedophile ring with a gun, and like, he didn't actually shoot anybody, but like, it got pretty close and really tense. Just enough information can start swaying thousands of people to where they're just 100% sure that you're an awful person just because you were talking about making pasta and you used the wrong verb. And so people think, well, he must be saying something else or something like, you know what I mean? Like the idea of being taken out of context is horrifying with every single word that you've ever said. Like, yeah. So Warrant Canaries help out with that, I guess, to back.
Interesting subject.
So on to another interesting subject that I found over the past week or so. And I almost brought it up last Sunday, but when we were recording last, I forget which day it was, but we ended up having enough and I didn't bring it up. But did y'all hear about this weird thing where apparently customers of a Canadian cryptocurrency exchange may not be able to access like millions of dollars?
I did hear about this on like a podcast or something a little bit. Yeah.
Well, so I will go ahead and be right up there with, I don't have a clue. I never got into cryptocurrency and really never wanted to get into it because it just sounded too smart for me. Right. I thought this just sounds like a way for me to lose a lot of money. But apparently this Quadriga is the company, Quadriga CX, and the founder passed away apparently like in December, unexpectedly due to Crohn's disease. I think he was like traveling to India and he passed away, but it wasn't made public. The wife didn't make it public till a month later. She announced on the website that he's passed away. And oh, by the way, he's the only one that had the access to over like $250 million worth of cryptocurrencies that were in cold wallets or something, what he's saying, Dad, you look a little perplexed, but what she's saying is like he had a laptop and she now has this laptop, but it's locked with passwords and that nobody can get into it. And he's the only one that had the passwords now that he's passed away.
Yeah.
So they've even had like security experts try to hack into it and no one can hack into it. It's just locked away. So now these people, like some of these people put money in this and we're going to just retire with that. I was reading one guy was talking about how he was going to, I forget why you would do it, but he was going to move to Canada. And the best way he thought to do it was he was going to put all his money into this cryptocurrency and then it would still be accessible because it's like a bank or something, I guess. But now he can't touch that money and there's no way for them to give it. And so now they're going to court and they're filing for a creditor protection. So now, like me or you, if we had money in it, we can't go sue them because it's not their fault they can't give us the money because it was a guy passing away.
I want to take a TO. Wouldn't this be like searching the phones in the incident in California? I mean, you can unlock it. Somebody can unlock this laptop.
The thing about this is actually a little bit different than that, because the thing about cryptocurrency is you have your own hash, which is a really complicated long password that is untraceable and blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's in theory traceable, but it would take, until the end of the universe to guess your password if you just guess randomly. Anyway, and it's also not like words. So it's not like you're guessing, Lutheringer, and then, where I was, whatever.
Well, even so, isn't there a way to break in without you're saying you have to know the password?
So Yeah, so the reason it's set up this way is if you break in, and I'm not super educated on cryptocurrency, but this is the best of my understanding, is you like, this is not like remembering your password and making a transfer out of your Capital One account. This is like actually having access to your physical wallet. And you have all of your money in cash. Like every dime you've got is in cash. So you really need it to be something that is borderline unbreakable. So, you know,
you would want, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
So you don't write down your password anywhere because a disgruntled employee of this place could just walk off with $100,000 and there's no way to know who did it, what the, you know, how there's no recourse for it. There's no like, because it's just, I mean, it's theft, but it's like, how would you ever find who did it if it was just somebody that transferred something through this anonymous, money sharing service? So, you know, keeping these things secret is like tantamount to keeping a business like this open.
Well, and so probably this guy, it was Gerald Cotton. He was like, I think he was 31 years old or 30 years old when he passed away in December. And if he's got access to this $250 million, then you would want him to have it, you know, because there's people that make a living, or I guess, I don't know if it's really making a living, but there's people like hackers go out and try to gain money, like gain access to these cryptocurrencies. That's like that's money.
Right.
That's straight up money. So you want to lock it away. But the interesting thing to me is apparently, so this Cotton they're claiming that he held the access to $250 million in cold wallets. And I know I've said that a couple of times. So I looked up because I didn't know what that meant. And apparently a cold wallet is where cryptocurrency is stored when it's not being actively traded. There's hot wallets and cold wallets. And if you're just storing that money, you're not trying to trade it, you put it in a cold wallet because then it's harder for people to hack.
It's like a savings account versus a checking account, except for, you know, not like with interest. It's just like a different functionality of like what you can pull out easily and stuff like that. So
this analytics firm, it's called Elementus, and others have been analyzing different blockchains for evidence of whether these cold wallets, where they're at. And they can't even find them. They said they've looked and there's no proof that there's even cold wallets that exist. And so they're saying Quadriga's story of this, their widower and this company's story doesn't match up to what they're saying. And now people, and here Conspiracy Kevin comes in. Now people are saying,
back.
Is the guy, yeah, he's been coming in and out for this podcast, but is the guy that passed away actually even dead? Like some people are like, is this a Tupac thing where he stored the money and then
this is a double whammy here.
Yeah. Well, it's weird, you know, he supposedly he unexpectedly passed away on a trip to Indiana or India.
Yeah, that can never happen.
But then they didn't tell anybody I want to get out in front of this. They didn't tell anybody until a month later, and all these people have tons of money put in there. It's just,
but I could also understand
can't find
a grieving widow who realizes that her husband lost $250 million might not want to just say, "Oh, by the way, just FYI, we've lost all of it." What I'm surprised about is that we don't have I want to say the original formula for Coke is written down on 2 sheets of paper, half the ingredients on one, half the ingredients on the other, kept in 2 safes that 2 different people have access to, just in case they ever lose it or something like that. I don't understand why there wasn't 2 guys that could have had access to half of this blockchain or half of this hash key or whatever that could have gotten into it. Like why it was all on one guy. Like that's weird to me. That seems like
I tell you what, I want to tell you guys, if there's a password you need if I have to have a password and I've got to have it, it's written down somewhere. I'm just going to tell you. And if it's so super secret that I can't even write it down, you'll be able to figure it out because it can't be too complicated.
Well, but
you know,
but that's the thing is like these passwords are like capital Z, lowercase f, 4421, and it goes on for 64 characters.
Yeah, but I got to remember this in my head, LJ, is what I'm saying. So it can't be too
no, I
nuts.
understand. Oh, I understand. But it isn't. And therefore, if he is the kind of CEO that's writing down this password, then this company's not worth investing in the first place. So there needs to be some other situation. Yeah. I mean, I agree. There's got to be something better than just one guy keeping a 64 character password in his head all the time. Like,
for $200 million. That's just not good practice.
It's absurd. Yeah. It's a bad idea.
So it'd be interesting to see. I want to kind of keep up just because my conspiracy button's going off, and I want to see if he's over with Tupac in Kenya or wherever Tupac and Biggie are hanging out.
And the guy was going to do the next Fire Festival, is he? This isn't that Billy. What's his face?
This isn't Billy
McFarlane, dude. Sounds like it could be.
Oh man, talk about a scammer. Although I want to just throw out real quick, I think that maybe Conspiracy Kevin is just regular Kevin with a mustache. I'm pretty sure they're the same person.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's conspiracy, Kevin. That's just me normally.
Thank you to it, LJ.
Speaking of conspiracy, Kevin, I didn't mention this during the Grammys, but did you see Stevie Wonder? Like they gave him, he was supposed to announce an award.
Good Lord.
And he opened up an envelope like he was going to read it. And I think then he realized, all of a sudden, I'm not supposed to be blind. I can't read this. And then he played it off like he's blind. I'm just saying.
Yes.
Or he's not blind.
Oh my God.
No,
I'm just saying.
No.
If someone in that crowd would have thrown a shoe at him, he probably would have dodged it. I'm just throwing that out.
He's walked on the moon.
I hope
too,
somebody would yell, Stevie, shoe. But no, yeah, he can't see.
Anyway, let's see.
Damn it, Kevin. We'll have to put that in the damn show notes now, and I don't want to give you the pleasure. Do you guys have any issues with GMO food? Like, what do you think a GMO, like, is a GMO, non-GMO food better in your opinion?
I don't really know much about them, to tell you the truth.
Well, I mean, so a GMO, a growth, what is it? A growth modified,
genetically modified.
What's it? Genetically modified. It's like where they make corn better, right, with more yield, or they make an apple or an orange easier to peel, or with a natural herbicide. They'll give it some enzyme that means it'll kind of keep fruit flies away. Or
I think these are the most important
that.
ones. Yeah, the ones that have more meat to the fruit are big ones, or more, whatever yield from the wheat, and then the herbicides. Yeah, those are the really big ones. That, like, if you can have a natural herbicide that's not going to cause an issue with your food, then that can feed millions more, right? Like that's. And then the other thing is, like, if you can make like a wheat like product that doesn't require nearly as much water, then that's certainly saving a lot of people. But
part of the argument in it, LJ, is kind of like the old CRISPR thing, right? Aren't they kind of messing with the DNA of the plant and the, I guess even the chickens? They're genetically modified chickens to have larger breasts.
Yeah.
Because they sell them better. So at some point.
Well, and I do feel like there's at least an argument with a living creature. You see some of these chickens that have been modified to, like, have larger meat and stuff like that. Like, they don't look like they get around really well. But when it comes to a fruit, I have no idea why it wouldn't be. We've been genetically modifying since the dawn of time. We just didn't know.
That's why we can feed the planet, right? Because we've genetically modified to.
I mean, the idea of cross pollination was, come up with by, like, Gregor Mendel, who found out, maybe Mendeleev, I think it's Mendel, who figured out genetics in peas using Punnett squares, and he learned how to make peas bigger and more effective. And this was like back in the 1200s or something like that. Like, we've been genetically modifying things for a long time. We just didn't have the tools to do it as well as we do now. Like, we just had to waste thousands of generations of peas to get a good pea, whereas now we can do it a lot quicker and a lot more effectively.
I get all that, but there is something about eating eating foods that seem to be more wholesome and less genetically modified. I mean, I'm not against it. I'm not against it, because it's as, I don't know, it's as nature intended it to be. Again, I don't.
Well, but it's not, though. Let's look up like, when you get some time, look up a picture of, like, corn before we started cultivating it, and look up a picture of watermelon before we started cultivating it. They're the natural original version. They'd be completely inedible by today's standards. Like, you just could not eat them. There's nothing to them. We've been genetically modifying since we started.
So as part of what you're saying, why would I not want the best chicken you can genetically modify to make?
I would stick to, because like I said earlier, a living thing definitely, like, has other effects. Like, when you think of, like, genetically modifying a chicken to give it bigger breasts, like, will it be able to walk as well? Will it be able to run as well? Will it have any quality of life? Like, that does affect my opinion. But when we're talking about a potato, like, yeah, make that thing grow as big and as potato-y, and make that thing fry up in a French fry better than any potato you've ever created. Like, I'm down for that.
I don't care how you do it, but I just want a plate full of taters.
And I want it to go like this. I'm sorry, that's bad for radio land.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, make the biggest, juiciest tomatoes you can make. Like, why stop it at, we want to do it
because what are they plugging? Like, what are they, like? I don't know, because now I'm consuming that. So, like, what are you now? Now I might want to know, what are you putting all into my food that now I'm consuming? Like, are you throwing steroids into chicken? Or are you throwing, like, what all are we talking about?
But
I don't even know what genetic.
He's on plants though, more, and I'm kind of with you on plants. But I think one of the dangers I want to bring about is that, and maybe this is more in the organic field, but if they use certain kinds of herbicides to keep bugs away from corn, and then you ingest some of that insecticide or herbicide. Now, so maybe I'm saying that I would probably be more in tune, if I'm thinking correctly, to have organic vegetable than I might a non-GMO vegetable.
I would say the thing that I know of as far as GMO goes, though, is like you can potentially take the thing out of corn that the locusts are attracted to, or whatever corn predator you have. Instead of making that thing have an herbicide that, putting herbicides on crops can do, it can not only damage you, but it can damage the land and it can damage all the wildlife around. Like, it can damage a lot. But if you can make corn that just doesn't smell all that good to the bugs that like to eat it, then, why the hell not? With no other notable effect.
So maybe I would rather have something that's GMO than non-organic, I guess.
Well, and if you can make it take less water and you can take it to where it produces more yield, then instead of having, you could then take your surplus and just donate it to people that don't have food. Like it would, instead of, paying extra for people to have grown it from a seed that they haven't tampered with at all. Like I just, as long as the tampering doesn't cause radioactivity, then I don't really see much of an issue.
Well, yeah, it's true. I don't want to glow.
I don't know. That'd be kind of cool, but hard to sleep.
Be good for night golf.
There you go.
If I glowed.
Excuse me. Let me just crack my arm. So.
But so it was about spending on Valentine's Day. And this new, apparently what men plan to spend and what women plan to spend are not only different, but also what both genders expect. So Bankrate.com did a survey.
Already. Yeah, you're telling me something I don't know, but let me hear the particulars.
The survey, just on guess, just men on the survey, men plan to spend on average of blank on their partners for Valentine's Day. What do you think it is?
$150.
Oh, less than that.
The survey found that men plan to spend $339 on their partners for Valentine's Day.
Wow.
While women said,
erase that out of the podcast.
I've never been a good
LJ. I don't want Tammy to hear that.
And then it says they found that women plan to spend significantly less, saying that they will expect to spend an average of $64 on their partner.
What?
But
did they
that's
ask
not what
people at a yacht club, or I don't understand where they got these.
But what was weird is according to the survey, it's not what they plan to spend; it's what men and women expect their partner to spend on them. And it said that men expect their partner to spend around $211 on them, while women only expect their partners to spend $150 on them.
Wow!
These numbers just completely blow my mind, and it makes me feel sorry for any Valentine I was getting a gift for, because I've never even thought about spending $300 for Valentine's.
I think I did that once.
But and also
it was
I'm kind
of big one.
Yeah, maybe.
And I'm kind of like LJ. I'm wondering what the survey I don't know how many men that are expecting. Like, what are you wanting for $211? Are you wanting some tickets to a play or a game or something?
Think about this. This is pretty easy to do. So, you're going to get flowers. You get a nice bouquet of flowers. You're probably getting close to $100. You're getting close to $100.
That's fair.
Yeah. Now, let's go out to eat to a really nice restaurant. You're talking another $100 easily, maybe $125, depending on where you go. So now you're up at $225, $250, and then let's get a necklace or some earrings or chocolates.
And some wine.
You're getting close to that $300 mark, reasonably easy.
Yeah, I guess you get there pretty quick, don't you?
And if you're going out to a nice restaurant, you're probably not getting barefoot wine or something out of a box. Like, you're probably getting something pretty.
You're gonna get something nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can see that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know many of my friends that spend anywhere near that much on Valentine's. But I also know that I work in a community of starving artists, so my experience is not exactly the same as the rest of the world's. But that's absurd to me that those numbers are that separated too. Like that, I don't know what that implies. That men spend too much and think too much about it, maybe, or I don't know.
Well, I know what you could do if you're out there and you're looking for something to do for Valentine's. Maybe you haven't got your gifts last second. You're listening to this maybe on Valentine's Day. Yeah, what you can do,
you might be in trouble.
And you can spend that money, and you actually are going to look good. Just head over to Tick Splits. They're the official ticket provider of the Just Press Play podcast.
Okay,
and unlike other ticket providers where you see all those the ticket pops up $89, and then you end up spending that $300 on all the different fees and all the bull crap. What you see is what you pay for over at TickSplits. And if you go in there and put the promo code armchair at checkout, then you'll receive 5% off your total ticket purchase. So hit up there. I mean, if you're a woman out here listening and you want to, like, maybe your boyfriend or husband's a big Luka fan and you want to go to catch a Mavericks game, head over to TickSplits. Or maybe like me and Pops did. Or maybe you're looking for something to get your wife. If you haven't got your wife or girlfriend or anything, and you're listening to this on Valentine's morning,
get busy.
In trouble.
It's too late.
You can find tickets to like a play or something at TickSplits. There's all kinds of stuff on there. They got everything. And if you put that promo code armchair into TickSplits.com, that's TIXBLITZ, then you will receive a little extra percent off your checkout. So
because you can't spell romance without JPP.
That is correct.
There you
Thank you,
go.
LJ.
What I'm talking about.
Just tying up some loose ends here as we get ready maybe to go out. We talked about this, LJ, before the Super Bowl on the prop bets, and one of them was whether what would end first, the Super Bowl or James Harden's 30-point scoring streak.
Okay.
Still today, James Harden still has not scored under 30 points in a game. And now one of them was the other night he was playing against the Mavericks, and at one point they were up plus more than 15, close to 20 with like 45 seconds left, and he was still in the game, and he had 29 points, and he was kind of jacking up some shots because clearly he knew how many points he was going. The coach knew what he was doing, and he hit the three with like 45 seconds left, and that put him at 32, and then they subbed him out. So my question was going to be to you guys. He started catching a lot of grief because he's stat chasing. But, I mean, do y'all have any problem with that? I mean, he's also chasing history. Sometimes you got to chase stats a little bit. Well,
I mean,
Pops, what do you think? Do you have any issue with him?
Yeah. No, you go first, Dan.
I don't particularly love it, but I don't have a problem with it either. I mean, you're right. It's historical. I don't particularly like it. That's just the truth, but I don't care.
Why not?
Why not? Because, I mean, I think it would be better to set that record in the flow of the game. It's like, I'm not one of those that Jason Witten's got a 6-game catch streak or a 30-game or whatever it is that we got to get him a pass if it hurts the offense. It's got to work with the offense. So, if they were up, what was the score in the game? They were up quite a bit, Kevin, did you say, against Dallas?
They were up by 17 with 40 seconds left, or with less than 2 minutes left, and they kept him in. He was jacking up, and he got that three with 45.
So I'm just telling you, here's how I feel about it. If that was me and my team is up, and I'm like, he's a good player, he's a leader in our locker room, and it seems important to him, and it brings notoriety to our team. And I'm like, Harden, go out there and get you another point, and let's get your ass on the bench. I'd be okay with it. Yeah. If the game's in any way in jeopardy or whatever, and probably they would all agree with this, even Harden, he's not going out there necessarily trying to hurt his team to get that 30th point. So,
well, if you're the Rockets also, if the game's anywhere within reach, you probably are putting the ball in James Harden's hand and hoping he shoots.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Is
you're right.
The only time he's going out of his way is when they ought to be benching him. Right?
I guess so.
I don't have any issue with that unless you're considering possibly an injury.
Yeah.
But I mean, his job is to score a lot of points every game. So,
and when we look back, and if he ends up, it's funny now. I think he's third all time on the longest streak of 30-point games. He passed Kevin Durant and Michael Jordan were like 3 and 4. And the two in front of him are Wilt Chamberlain at 1 and Wilt Chamberlain at 2 at like some incredible numbers. They're like, he went like 3 straight seasons of scoring 30 points or more in every single game. But I don't think when we look back at it like 3 years from now, we go, do you remember that stretch where James Harden had 33 straight games of 30 points or more or whatever? You're not going to go, but yeah, do you remember in game 21 when they're, I mean, hell, Wilt Chamberlain's 100-point game, I just looked up the box score to that one. They beat the New York Knickerbockers by 22 points, and he was scoring towards the end of that game. If you go look at the score by score, and all we remember is Wilt in that 100-point little photograph. We don't,
because nobody saw it because it wasn't on TV, but
Yeah,
but it's just like
the other thing you do
like,
remember is there is like a degree of how much does that help the team, because what you remember with that, what I think of anytime I hear about Wilt Chamberlain's stat is my next thought is how many championships does Bill Russell have? And so I do think that there is some efficacy to the idea of, is it helping the team or hurting the team to just go out there and get your numbers? But I also can't imagine scoring 100 in a night hurts your team. Like I just can't see how that happens.
Well, but to that let me piggyback on that to say it might make me want to catch, Houston, the Rockets are playing on Thursday night NBA. I might want to check it out. Or was it Thursday night on TNT, NBA on TNT? might want to check it out. Just see, is he going to get it again? So it brings more interest to the Rockets, maybe gets them more television time, so it could be good for the team.
The only negative I can see is if he gets hurt.
If he gets hurt,
when he shouldn't be out
that would
there.
suck.
And that's a big negative. And that's a big negative. He rolls an ankle when they're up 20 against Dallas, who's a below 500 team, and now he can't play in the playoffs or something. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm on the mindset, if I'm a player in the NBA, which I'm a long way from that, in case anyone was wondering. But if I'm a player in the NBA and I'm entering the fourth quarter with like 65 points or something, I'm asking the coach, you better leave me in there because I'm trying to catch Kobe's 81-point game or something. I'm chasing history because at the end of the day, you got to chase stats at some point to chase history, I think.
Well, and it's the coach's job to pull him out too. If he shouldn't be out there, it's not ever going to be James Harden's fault that he was going for 30 points. That's stupid to blame him for that. It's the coach's fault for not pulling him.
Agree with that.
It's the same with concussions, right? You can't blame a quarterback for wanting to go back out there and play. You just got to stop him.
Yeah. I'm jumping sports a little bit on you, but LJ, did you see where Demaryius Thomas got cut by the Texans?
Yeah, I don't like that. I mean, it makes sense, but
to me, it just showed another reason why I probably wouldn't want to, if I could be any athlete of any sport, why I probably don't want to go to football because, it said so he failed a physical designation, and so they were able to cut him, and that creates $14 million in cap space. And I think he was supposed to make like $12 million if he would have stayed on the roster. And it just is the NFL and their contracts. Like, it's no real risk for the team. If the player gets hurt, you just peace out. We're going to save that $14 million. Yeah. But if the player way outperforms this contract, then like your Earl Thomas, then you're like, no, you signed this contract. You need to honor your contract and make them play through it.
Right.
It just is funny. And if I'm a guy wanting to become, like with a kid one day, I'm wanting to go like John Wall. John Wall signed that big $200 million deal, and now he apparently ruptured his Achilles in his own home, falling down or something. It doesn't matter. That money's still all guaranteed. He's still going to make $30 million this year and not touch the court. And the NFL is just, what have you done? What can you do for me right now? Well, if you can't do anything, then
Kevin.
So with that in mind, what do you think about Kyler Murray?
Exactly. Kyler Murray just chose football over baseball. And from what I've read, it's because he could be like a late first rounder and still get more guaranteed money than he can in the major leagues.
To me, I think the difference in that one, the difference in that one to me is Kyler Murray plays quarterback. If I'm Kyler Murray and I play receiver or defensive back or running back, I'm probably choosing baseball, but quarterback is just different. They protect you. They protect you at quarterback. Plus, the money quarterbacks make is just, as we've talked about, you can be, Kirk Cousins isn't one of the 5 best quarterbacks in the league, and he's making $88 million, all fully guaranteed. Yeah. So, Blake Bortles made $20 million this past year and couldn't even finish out the season. So,
I agree with you totally. Like, being a quarterback means that he doesn't, like, to get more money than that, he's got to be like A-Rob contract level. He's got to be making that like top percentage of the league as an outfielder, which is hard to do compared to is a quarterback, which is already the highest paid position. And also, he's just got to be in the top 10 to make more than he probably ever made.
Fair point.
And good piggybacking on that a little bit, if he is a first round pick, I don't know where he gets taken in the first round, but if he's a first round pick, then if you take a quarterback in the first round, that guy is going to he's going to start at some point. You can't bench a guy that you take in the first round. Like, fans are just going to want to see him. Whereas the A's, if he gets drafted, he got drafted in the first round, but he's going to have to go play AA ball where they're riding around. If you've heard about AA ball, they're riding around on buses, they're staying at cheap hotels. I mean, it's not near as glamorous as being the quarterback of one of 32 teams in the NFL. And maybe he flames out after 4 years and he can probably still try to kick the tires on baseball if he doesn't get hurt.
He can. So,
yeah, very true. Very true.
So it doesn't, I think LJ was on this, I think before the year. And I think if you're the A's, you probably don't necessarily regret drafting because when they draft him, they're saying, well, if he does go out and win Heisman as good as he wants to be a quarterback, he probably does choose quarterback over this. But if he would have come out and flailed out, I think LJ was on this way ahead of time, and he was like, if he's going pro in football, and he's going to go play quarterback because it's a glamorous
thing that's
sport,
crazy though
position.
Is this dude might be the most powerful college athlete in sports right now, because what he can do is if, say, the Broncos say we're thinking about drafting you, can be like, I might play baseball then. Like if he doesn't like a situation, he can just say, not going to do it. So he has all of the cards.
Well.
Like if Arizona, I don't know, Arizona has number one over. It's interesting with Arizona. Cliff Kingsbury last fall said he loved Kyler Murray, and if Kyler Murray was in the NFL draft, he'd take him number one overall. Now Cliff Kingsbury's at Arizona with the number 1 overall pick and a former first-round quarterback that he took just last year. He didn't take him.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see what'll happen there. But yeah, if you're Kyler Murray, just like old Eli Manning did way back in the day and didn't want to go to San Diego, except for Kyler Murray as a real, like he can just say, no, I'll go play baseball. I got guaranteed money to go play baseball for the A's.
And shout out to Granddaddy. I know how much you loved John Elway. For that,
I was going to say there was another guy in the Denver Broncos quarterback room. Yeah, the same thing.
So I don't have any problem with that. If a player can try to decide where they end up, I say go for it. Like, why put yourself in a crappy situation for 3, maybe 4 years? It's just impressive how much power he's got now. Like, he can basically decide where he goes within the top 10 or so teams.
I don't know. Did you guys see, speaking of Kyler Murray, did you guys see during Super Bowl week before he kind of did the rounds on Radio Row? He was on like the Dan Patrick Show and the Rich Eisen Show. And I think he did maybe the Herd or something. He was doing a couple of different hits. And they were asking questions, and like they were asking, "Are you going to be in the combine?" He just kept going, I don't know." It was a terrible, terrible interview, and he was awful, and he looked like he was surprised by the questions that he was getting. And I don't know who's coaching him up, but you had to know if you're doing Radio Row questions where all we want to know is he going to do the combine or not. And he looked like he was shocked that they were asking him, "Are you going to go report for the A's or go to the combine?" And he was like, I don't know. Why do you have to ask me those questions? Like, what do you mean? You knew that. I just thought he looked terrible in the interviews, and I don't think that should affect his draft because at the end of the day, you're not worried about what he can do on a radio interview. You're worried about what he can do on the field. But I just think whoever's coaching him up should have been like, all right, here's your canned answer where you can say, I'm still exploring my options. I loved the option of playing quarterback, but I also love the A's, and they drafted me in the first round. Like, anybody could have taught him just here's a canned answer, and he looked like he was shell shocked by that answer and blindsided by that question. Just he needs better. He needs better people around him, I think. But that's neither here nor there. So I think that'll probably do it for this week's JPP pod. Do you guys have anything else you want to throw out there before we get out of here?
No.
I think we kind of touched on it all. Oh, by the way, I saw this on Twitter today. This was on Tuesday earlier. Jose Canseco tweeted out that if you would like to go on a Bigfoot and alien excursion with Jose Canseco, yes, he's tweeting in third person, you can contact Morgan Management. And he even put a number out there at 702-374-3735. So, I mean, I'd like to go on a Bigfoot excursion. That sounds kind of cool.
What about the alien part? Where is he going for the alien excursion?
The tweet is very brief. It just says that right there. Go on a Bigfoot and alien excursion with Jose Canseco. Contact this number.
I'm in.
I don't know if he has a plan or if we're just going to go all over the place, but we'll see. Maybe we can be the first men on the moon.
Let's record a podcast out there.
We're here with Canseco. We're looking for Bigfoot or aliens. We're not sure. We think we saw one.
The JPP pod would reach another level if we can do a series with Jose Canseco on alien and Bigfoot excursions and report back week to week. That would be fantastic.
We will have made it.
Can we get Kyrie? Let's get Kyrie Irving to go with us too. That would be great.
Yeah. And Kyler Murray to try to decide whether we saw an alien or a Bigfoot, and he won't have an answer for it. So.
He'll be blindsided by the question. So, all right, I think that'll do it for another week. Appreciate you listening to us, and make sure you're going out on iTunes or Spotify, wherever you go and get your podcast, and rate and review us. Give us a 5-star, or if you don't think we're 5 stars, just don't worry about the rating. But give us a review. Let us know what you think, and subscribe, and keep checking in with us. We appreciate you.
Hey Siri, subscribe to Just Press Play.
Peace out.
Peace.
Did y'all see the guy? This is random, but apparently some guy in Houston, we ran a story today on the news, but this guy was wanting to find a house to go get high at, and he found this house that apparently was abandoned, and then he found a lion in a cage inside the house. Or no, not a lion, a tiger, like a real live tiger.
When he found it?
And so he called the cops. Well, so he called police and told them, and police thought the same thing. They were like, now, it's just because I think he told police, just like, I was going to smoke in this house. Probably didn't say what he was smoking.
I'm on ayahuasca right now.
But they were like, is this guy already smoking? He's just high as hell calling dispatch. And they went, and there was this full-grown effing tiger in there. Apparently the house was abandoned, but someone's been feeding and taking care of the tiger. And it was like a real playful thing. It was rolling around in the cage, and it was cute as hell. But, man.
Wow.
Talk about, I could just imagine, like, I'm